Welcome to East Coast Believers Church Lake Nona. Thank you for joining us today. We would like to personally invite you to join us in person. We're located at 12253 Lake Nona Gateway Road inside Village Park Elementary. Service starts at 10 a.m. Today, Pastor Rich continues the series Life on Purpose. Please stay with us all the way through the end for some important messages and announcements. Now, here's Pastor Rich.
We're in a great series that we've been doing called Life on Purpose. Has anybody been here for most of our messages here for Life on Purpose? I am so glad the 10 of you are blessed from that, and the rest of you are going to be blessed today. And what we've been talking about is living this life intentionally and how to make decisions to find direction and to live a life of devotion to God in a world that really offers us not much more than distraction. Has anybody experienced that in their day-to-day life? The same 10 that enjoyed the series. You're here. We live in a world that is just absolutely filled to overflowing with distraction that keeps us from living the life that God desires for us and has designed us to have and calls us to live in. And I believe specifically this generation, the generation that we live in, we have experienced distractions unlike any generation that has come before us. It's on a different level that I don't even think we would be able to describe to those who aren't alive today, because it's not like anything that's ever been around before. Listen, we face distractions from social media that's been specifically engineered to keep you focused on it rather than focused on your life. We have countless streaming services, screens of every variety, every size, every shape, pulling our eyes away from the people in our life so that we could keep our eyes on other people living their life. And we have advertisers who use psychology to make us buy things we never even knew we needed. Sports events from all around the world are at our fingertips. Entertainment of every type, from Hollywood to Bollywood, everywhere in between. We got shows from North Korea that do better than shows from America. I mean, if you would have told me when I was a little kid I'd be watching a show from North Korea, you know what I would have said? Where? We never heard of anything like this before. We had 3, 5, and 9. That's what we had when I was a kid. I don't know what it was in Florida, but in Syracuse, New York, you had 3, 5, and 9. And then that bootleg station that would come in on UHF, it was Celebrate 68 WSYT. Yeah, you know why that's a core memory? Because I was an only child. And I didn't have no friends. I love that channel, man. We got YouTube channels of every interest under the sun. Anybody in here a YouTube? Anybody love YouTube? I don't like YouTube. I love YouTube. Me and YouTube are in a monogamous relationship together. I mean, When you're like ADHD, like you're an information junkie, you need constant stimulus, YouTube provides it. Listen, one time on YouTube, I watched multiple, not one video, multiple videos of ultra satisfying rug cleaning. It was an Eastern European man with his own YouTube channel and his own shop. And it was dedicated to his step-by-step process of cleaning valuable and extremely filthy Oriental rugs. Shampooing them, rinsing them, doing the squeegee out the dirt. Satisfying. Each one was about 35 minutes. It was an ASMR. And I'm not going to lie, I put it on one day for a nap. I can't get that time back, y'all. It's gone. Do you understand me? You understand? I had to look at myself in the mirror and know that's what I spent my life doing, watching a man clean someone else's stank Oriental rug. This is what we're living with today. We got influencers, celebrities, apps for everything, shopping, travel, to note-taking, games, texting, group chats. You ever been put in a group chat? That's prison. I dare you to put me in a group chat. You know what you'll see? Pastor Rich has left the group chat. Don't. This is the devil. Memes, reels, shorts. We face distraction today. Our news reporters are now news, right? This guy said this. This guy got fired from this station. This guy just went to this station. It's so bad today that podcasters on Spotify are more trusted and trustworthy than newscasters on CNN. There's too much. There's too much coming in to get our attention. And if you're like me and you don't really possess an ability to focus, you're done. You're smoked. There's too much. It's grabbing you. It's too much grabbing your attention. It can be so overwhelming and overpowering to the senses and our ability to focus, our ability to make decisions, our ability to stay on task, our ability to be connected to our own life intentionally and on purpose. And it becomes really, really easy to become complacent with the status quo, to live a life that's marked by good enough. To get by instead of living an abundant life that God desires for us. Complacency is an enemy to everything that God has designed our destiny and our direction. It's a tool to keep us stagnant and stuck so that we never really get to experience the life that God wants for us and our families. And what I want you to see today is that God has provided us and given us tools that we need for life and godliness. You know, the Apostle Peter said that God has given us all things. Everybody say all things. What about the rest of you? All things. God's given us all things that we need. Now, I don't need a 35-minute YouTube video of an Eastern European man cleaning valuable Oriental rugs. I'm not telling you God gave that to me. What I am telling you is God has provided us. He has given us all that we need in order to live a life of abundance. Now, when I say abundance, understand something. I'm not talking about just money. Anytime people hear abundance, they're like, oh, you're going to talk about money. No, that's not all abundance is. Some of the poorest people I know are wealthy. Abundance is much more than finances. Now, it includes it, absolutely. Like you could say, oh, you don't need money. Just try it. I don't want to need it. I just recognize the fact that I do. But abundance at the same time is a full life in which I apply the tools that God has given to me in order to live the fullness of life. Now, I want to talk today about two specific, powerful tools that God has given us that we can apply to our life to have what God has said in the Bible, life and godliness. That is what I'm talking about, and what I want to continue to talk about today is the power of commitment and devotion. Commitment and devotion. Now this side, let me hear you say commitment. Now this side, let me hear you say devotion. This side. This side. Now I think you all are awake, and we're going to get into this. No matter what you're doing in life, no matter what role you find yourself in, no matter where you are, no matter what you're up against, it's crucial that we understand the power that can be released in our life through your decision to be committed and devoted to something or someone. Wherever you spend your life, your energy, your resources, that is what your life's made of. What you spend your time doing, what you expend your energy on, what you commit, the resources that you have at your disposal at this moment in time on, that is what your life is. So it's very important that we understand we're making commitments every day. We're devoting to things every day, but it doesn't mean that we're putting those things in the right place that is bringing us life and godliness. And what I want us to see today is that commitment and devotion, when it comes to living life on purpose, are two concepts that go hand in hand and provide us with motivation and dedication we need to stay focused, to work hard, and most importantly, to persevere through the inevitable challenges of life. How many of us have just lived one day and realized this stuff's hard? Nobody? Great. I'm living with you. I'm moving in. I come with 4 other people. I hope you got room with your easy life. I don't know how you live in Florida and have an easy life. The whole state's trying to kill you. The whole landscape, mosquitoes, water, everything in the water, snakes. You can't drive on the highway. You know what Florida people say? It's all the out-of-state drivers. There's been 4 natural births in the state of Florida. The state of Florida is out-of-state drivers. I don't know. The 4 of you that have been born here, get over yourself, all right? You're welcome for the economy, and sorry about buying all your houses. Commitment and devotion. Commitment, what is commitment? What are we talking about when we're talking about commitment? Commitment is that sense of attachment, dedication, and responsibility to something or someone. You know what I'm talking about, to be committed? Yes, I'm talking about being committed in our relationships, being committed to our spouses, our loved ones, our kids, being committed to our jobs, maybe not. But at the same time, it's that dedication that you intentionally apply to something. You ever made a commitment to yourself where you were like, listen, this is what I'm going to eat, and this is what I'm not going to eat. And then what happens inevitably? Hey, I got ice cream. You know what my wife does? You know what Pastor Allison does? Y'all think she's sweet. Listen. Don't be deceived. Listen. I'll be like, man, I'm going back on keto. I'm losing this 20 pounds I've been trying to lose for 4.5 years. She'd be like, oh, I'm back from the store. I got you some ice cream with peanut butter in it. Why are you doing this to me? Just don't have it in the house. Why? Because I made a commitment. And inevitably, when you make a commitment, something there to bust you out of it. And that commitment, you make commitments to your kids. It's not because you want to. You know the only people laughing in this room? Parents. I'm just going to be honest with you. Listen, we can't be honest here. Where are we going to be honest? We're a bunch of Christians going to be honest. Can't be honest in the world, end up going to jail. Listen, this is where we're going to be honest. There's a reason I love my kids, because I don't always like them. Yeah, that's nervous laughter. Admit it. I'm committed to you because I love you, not because I like you. Heck, that's sometimes how you get through marriage. Oh, Pastor Rich telling the truth. I'm uncomfortable. You came to the wrong church today. You should have went to that denominational one down the street with a building. We ain't got one. That's why we get down like this. When we get a building, we'll clean it up. But as for right now, unfortunately, we got to tell the truth to one another, all right? Can we just do that? Can we stop pretending? All right, now that you're loosened up, let's talk about devotion. This is what you got to do. This is what I got to do to I got to keep you connected. I got to keep you off them phones. You know what I mean? Got to say some crazy stuff every now and again. And every now and again, I'll slip a little truth in there. You'd be like, he's telling the truth. I don't be liking my kids. It's okay. Listen, all you young parents out there, I need to tell you something. I need to give you permission. This ain't got nothing to do with my message. I need to give you permission for something. Look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? You're a good parent. And you still don't like your kids. But I love you, right? I love my kids. There's a difference. You think God always likes you? I promise you. Look, Jesus got upset with the disciples every now and again. Called his best friend Peter the devil. He's like, get behind me, Satan. Still went to the cross for him. Look, I'll die for my kids. It doesn't mean I like them while I'm doing it. Anyway, I feel like I had to express myself. Let's talk about devotion. The power of commitment is that attachment, that dedication, that responsibility that we feel towards something or someone. There's some power in it. But then when you pair it up together, right, with devotion, commitment and devotion, these are two resources and tools that God has put at our disposal. Devotion is that thing that it refers to that deep sense of loyalty and affection that we feel toward something or someone, right? You ever been devoted to somebody, right? You care about them so much. You care about that relationship so much that, I'm not talking about puppy love, but I'm just talking about that deep love where you're like, man, I will do anything to keep this relationship alive. I'll do anything to show this person how much I love them. And that evolves and changes over time, and that's okay. But there is a power that is released in your life, and I'll go so far as to say that is released in the earth when commitment and devotion come together. When commitment and devotion come together, they're like the Wonder Twins from back in the days. Remember that? Wonder Twin powers. Activate. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you might be too old to have children, but you might have adult children if you know what I'm talking about. You ever heard, you know what I'm talking about? Janice and Jada, the Wonder Twins. Wonder Twin powers, activate. Just look it up. It's probably a meme on Instagram now. Now it's probably a big joke. The thing I used to wake up early in the morning for, right? It was the Hall of Justice, the Super Friends. Wonder Twin powers, activate. And the one would say form of water. And the other one would be like the form of a bucket, right? And he'd carry the water and they'd pour the water on the villain and the villain would slip and they'd save the day. Janice and Jada, most worthless powers in the world. Form of a banana peel. And then the person would slip on the banana peel. No, everyone in here is going, your cartoon sounds stupid, Pastor Rich. Well, when I look back at it, yeah, they probably were. But the point was there's Wonder Twins, and they work together. And when they came together, they go, Wonder Twin powers, they bumped their fists together. A little fist bump. The first fist bump ever was Janice and Jada, the Wonder Twins. And they fist bump, and they were able to. There's no lady in the front row. I think I just heard her lungs. Like that last lung just went. If there's a nurse in the building, we might need her. I'm going to stop. The poor lady. We do teach spiritual truth here. I'm just letting you know. We have a deep commitment to spiritual truth. That is no joke. When commitment and devotion come together, it's a powerful force, and what it releases in our life is a motivation. It produces a dedication in us to pursue our goals, to pursue our obligations, to live life to its fullest potential. Commitment and devotion, they're the back. Listen, commitment and devotion, that's the backbone of every mother's love right there. Right? Once that mom knew there was a life inside of her, a commitment and a devotion began to grow. And then once that baby came out, that mom held that baby. You ever see that look on a woman's face? Oh my goodness. You know right there, you're second. the rest of your life. Every husband knows, like, dang, I didn't even want kids. I just wanted to be with your mom. I just like your mom. My wife was like, you want to have kids? I was like, I'd like to try. I mean, I don't like kids. I like you. I like you. Took my wife, turned her into a mom, ruined everything. I had a mom already. I didn't need another one around me. Oh. That's the backbone to it. That's the backbone to life right there is commitment and devotion. You get committed and devoted to a person, or you get committed and devoted to a cause, a purpose, your relationship with God, when you begin to apply commitment and devotion to areas of your life, inevitably what will be produced, what can only be produced when you place the power of commitment and devotion into something in your life, is that it will multiply and grow. It's impossible for it not to multiply and grow when you apply the power of commitment and devotion. But the problem is, there's always a problem. The problem is that the enemy also knows the power of commitment and devotion. Believe it or not, there is a real spiritual enemy in your life. And he really will come against you. And anybody in here that's on our launch team, anybody in here that's helped us get this church started, my wife especially knows this, the devil will do everything he can to deter you from applying the principles of commitment and devotion to your spouse, to your children, to a cause, to a purpose, to a local church, to a community of faith, to your job. He will do everything he can to remove you from continually applying the power of commitment and devotion. Because when commitment and devotion are placed in the right thing, they're placed in the right areas, it'll cause growth and increase. It'll cause life to those people around us. When you're committed and devoted to your kids, you are pouring your life into those kids. When you're committed and devoted to your spouse, you are pouring out your life in your spouse. Because what you're committed to, that is what your life is, because you're pouring your time, your energy, and your resources into it. When I'm devoted to something or someone, I am pouring my life into them. And God will take that. He'll take your sacrifice. He'll take your service. He'll take the power, commitment, and devotion, and you'll see multiplication come from it. Listen, anybody in here ever been committed to a financial or a fitness goal? I'm not talking about you like the idea of being fit. Like, being committed to a fitness goal doesn't mean going and buying workout clothes. Billy Banks became a billionaire because people like the idea of fitness. Y'all don't know who Billy Banks is? Yeah, it's because you didn't watch infomercials. Ty Bo. Billy Banks. Oh, we bought it. Did it 17 times and never do it again. It was only at the first phase of it. Weren't committed. We liked the idea of looking like Billy Banks, didn't like the idea of working out like Billy Banks. But when you stay committed to a fitness and a financial goal, when you're like, man, we are doing this, it can only inevitably lead to the multiplication of the thing that you're committed to. If you're committed to your fitness, you're going to see the results of your fitness. If you're committed to pouring into your children, you're going to see the results of pouring into your children. If you're committed to your spouse, if you're committed to your local church, listen, you can't have a bunch of people like this committed to a local church and not see the local church grow. Why? Because they're applying the power of commitment. God has given us everything we need for life and godliness. So when we apply the tools of life and godliness, namely commitment and devotion, we'll see the result of commitment and devotion. But what inevitably happens is, because we have an enemy, he will do everything he can to stop commitment and devotion in its tracks. And what he does is he brings areas of our life into disarray. Listen, the devil is a real enemy. Like, we have a real enemy. He's called the Satan, or the devil. Do you know those aren't his first names? You know, he's not like, hey, how you doing? Satan Brown, nice to meet you. How you doing? Devil Smith, nice to meet you. Those are his titles. They're not names, they're titles of what he is. Diabolos, Satan, he is the accuser. He is the opposing force. He is our adversary. So if you know you have an adversary who's coming against the power of God in your life, he's coming against any place where you could make commitment and a devotion in your life work for you, he's going to come in and interrupt that in any way he can. How does he do it? One, busyness. Busyness. We can all get overwhelmed simply by the abundance of tasks at work, the needs of our family, the responsibilities that we have, all the things added on top of it. Things just pop up. But when your busyness doesn't really align with your values, you know you're off somewhere. What keeps us busy? Those trivial tasks. Just trivial, dumb things. I got to clean out the garage today. Or listen, or the people that get to gossiping. Gossiping just busybodies. Oh, what are they doing over there? Don't worry about it. Look, here's your business. I'm going to take my business and go this way. You don't need to know nobody's business. But the devil wants you getting into everybody's business. That's what leads to distraction. Oh, what did that celebrity say? Who cares? I got to know. It's exhausting. It's overwhelming. What about doubt? What about doubting yourself? You ever just doubt yourself? You make a commitment, you're like, I don't know if I can do this. Anybody who's married has woken up one day and gone, I don't know if I can do this. That's all right. Laugh. Go ahead. Just look straight at me and laugh. Look, for those of you who are in distress, just blink. Just blink SOS. Y'all give me a seizure, the flashing from the blinking. Like watching anime, I was like, oh. Whew. Y'all need this message. I need this message. Doubt yourself. Hey, when God said, hey, Rich, go start a church in Florida, I was like, I don't live in Florida, man. I doubted every process. I doubted myself today. I was like, I don't know if this message is going to land. I don't know if it's going to work, Lord. I need your help. It's to get your mind off what you're focused on. Temptation. I know, nobody's in here has ever been tempted. You're all perfect. That's fine. Just sit there. The other ones keep blinking. That's fine. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown, into the unknown. Listen. All that stuff it's going to remove that desire you have to stay committed. Lack of support. Listen, this is why we're honoring those single moms today, because you don't have no one supporting you in one of the hardest tasks anybody can do. 4-year-olds don't work. They can't drive to CVS and get you a card. On the job. Lack of support just gets you overwhelmed. Adversity. Listen, adversity comes in all shapes and sizes. Adversity comes at us in specific forms, in general forms. We're all going to face it because we all have an adversary. Life is adversarial. Life ain't here to welcome you. Life isn't good or bad, it just is. And you know what it is all the time? Difficult. That's why you need the power of commitment and devotion. Stress, anxiety, health issues, physical challenges, all these things. The moment you decide to make a commitment to anything, the moment you decide to walk in devotion to God, to walk in devotion to your loved ones, your family, your job, the cause, your local church, anything you decide to devote and commit to, the enemy is getting ready to release 2 counter forces. And that is the power of complacency and distraction. All those things I just mentioned and a plethora of other things, they all really just boil down to getting you overwhelmed, to destroy your motivation, to destroy your focus. And it's the final blow to busting up the door and making commitment and walking in devotion more work then it can seem worthwhile pursuing. And it's all designed to bring us up to a place of complacency and distraction, to shift your eyes, to remove your focus from what you have set your heart on and what you're devoted to. Complacency and distraction are the antithesis and are diametrically opposite to commitment and devotion. They're opposites. They work to try to cancel each other out. Just like commitment and devotion have the power to propel us forward toward growth, toward developing potential, toward building a life and a legacy, so too complacency and distraction have equal power toward stagnation, toward stalling us out, toward destroying our lives. And these two things will cause us to drift into a ditch of our own life. When you become complacent, and some of you might be like, I don't even know what complacent is, Pastor Rich. Complacency is that underwhelming, dull sense of satisfaction with the status quo. You know what I'm talking about? Where you get up and you stay in your sweatpants, and not because you're enjoying yourself. You just don't feel like doing too much more. You're like, listen, it's the people that go to Walmart in their pajama bottoms. You are complacent at that point. You have stopped trying. You've quit. Why? Good enough, it's pants. Can't arrest me in these. It's that underwhelming dullness of life. It's where you just say to yourself, I'm comfortable with the current situation. I'm just going to stop growing. It's when you get to that point, it's what it feels like to say, good enough. And like I shared with our team earlier today, you know anytime you've said good enough, it's really not good or enough. Good enough. But deep in your heart, you know, I just don't want to do this no more. That's complacency. And it's the total opposite of commitment. And then you have distraction, which is the total opposite of devotion. When you're devoted to something, your focus is on it. You're pouring your life into it. When you're distracted, you're not focused on living. You're focused on existing. It's a distraction. It's not meant to help you. It's meant to steer you. What's the solution? What's the solution? If you know that when you make a commitment and you walk in a life of devotion, that the enemy's just going to come along and do everything he can to knock your motivation out and to bring you into a place of complacency and distraction, what do? Well, just like a verse we shared last week, it was Philippians 3:12 says this. The Apostle Paul writes, and I love it because he's so open about himself. He's so open about where he's at in life. He says this, he says, not that I've already attained, not that I'm already perfected, but I press on. Listen, you don't press on unless you've been pressed against. You don't need to press on unless you've been pressed against. When you make a commitment and you're devoted to your life, you're devoted to building a legacy, you're devoted to raising great kids, you're devoted to having a great marriage, you're committed to building your local church, you're committed to seeing God's will done in the earth, you're committed. Anytime that happens, something's going to press against you. And that's why Paul said, listen, I don't got it all together. I'm not perfect. I've not arrived. But man, I keep pressing forward. Why? That I may lay hold of that which Christ Jesus has also laid hold of me. That I may get to the thing, that I may develop the fullness of my potential, the thing Jesus laid hold of me for. I want to lay hold of that. And I'm telling you right now, you can't experience the fullness of God in your life without applying commitment and devotion somewhere in your life. I want to lay hold of everything that God has for me. I want to lay hold of the very reason Jesus laid hold of me. Jesus didn't lay hold of us just so we could be chair sitters. Jesus laid hold of us so we could be world changers. You can't change the world without commitment. Why do you think we live on a planet that is bursting at the seams with distraction, because if you're focused, if the church is focused, if Christians are focused, if mothers are focused, if fathers are focused, if husbands and wives are focused on the relationship, you're going to see the growth of the life that God has for us. You're going to see the abundance that God has for us. But if he can just get us complacent with good enough, mustard stain on my sweatpants, don't care. It's the mindset that says this is good enough. It's the mindset that says God doesn't really need me that committed. It's all right. Listen, I promise you, hear my heart, okay? Do you trust me at this point at least? Some of you are like, I see. That's okay. That's okay. Listen, hear my heart. I'm not telling you, if you're not here 52 Sundays a year, then don't bother coming back for the 53rd. Sounds like something a mom would say, isn't it? You haven't called me. No, listen. What I'm telling you is, what if you made a commitment to seek God every week, to seek God at some point in your day? Look, people think ministers, all we do is pray, send each other emails in tongues. I promise you, ministry is a couple things. Fun and easy ain't two of them. It ain't fun, it ain't easy, it ain't nothing but work. But you know what it does? It causes you to be so busy that you can't be devoted. That you got to make time for devotion. You got to make time to be in the Word. Now, if my job is to minister the kingdom, is to minister the truth, and I still have a hard time getting to it, I understand that you're going to also have a hard time getting to it. But I'm telling you right now, if you'll make a commitment, and this is the principle I need you to see, and this is where we're going to end it. This is what I want you to see. In the book of Psalms, we're going to see how you unleash this principle when you experience the adversity. And this is what I need you to understand. That commitment and devotion are power that you can release in your life, but they're like a foundation stone that you build your life upon. And if you can be committed and devoted to your relationship with God first, if you can start there with that commitment, you will begin to build this firm foundation so that every commitment and every area of devotion in your life that you have is built upon the foundation of your commitment and devotion to God, so that when the complacency and the distraction come along, you can't be shaken. You can't be broken off. Why? Because I'm not just committed to my wife, I'm committed to God. And in my commitment to God, I'm able to commit to my spouse. I'm devoted to my relationship to God. And in my devotion to my relationship with God, I'm able to devote to my children in a life-giving way. Because I'm committed to God, I know how to be committed to my job in a way that's life-giving and not destructive. That's what I want you to see. The psalmist writes this. He says, listen, don't fret because of evildoers. This is Psalm 37, 1-7. Don't fret because of evildoers. Don't be envious of workers of iniquity. For they will be cut down like the grass and wither like the green herb. He's saying, listen, don't put your time and your focus and your energy being worried about people who aren't committed to God. Don't put your focus and your energy on things that are just taking your focus off your life. Don't worry about all that. Then he says, trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and feed on his faithfulness. That is the perfect image of a life committed and devoted to God. He's saying, trust in God and then go live your life. Dwell in the land and feed on his faithfulness. That's devotion. When you're devoted to God, you will feed on him. You'll feed on your time with God. It'll become food to you. It'll become water to you. It'll become nourishment to you, so that you're now prepared to go and pour out your life into the things that you have been committed and devoted to. Goes on and he says, delight yourself in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. That is the picture of commitment and devotion. That is how you build a foundation. He'll give you the desires of the heart. That doesn't mean he's going to give you what you want. It means he's going to plant inside of you desires for you to be committed to. Anybody in here got desires in their heart and you don't even know where they came from and you can't shake them? And you know deep down inside, if you don't begin to commit and live your life devoted to those things that God has put in your heart, you'll never be satisfied. Everything else will become a distraction. Everything else will become busyness. Everything else is stress and anxiety. But there's those desires God has put in our heart. It says this, commit your way to the Lord and trust also in him. Commit your way. Commit your way. Make a commitment to live your life the way God is directing you to live your life. We can commit our way to things that aren't God. We can make commitment to things that drain our life instead of giving us life. Only you can judge that for your life. Only you can see what those areas are. If you're making commitments to things that are the antithesis of what God has said commit to, I'm telling you right now, you're building a life on a foundation that can't support you or hold you. And eventually it will crumble. That's not meant to scare you. That's meant to encourage you that there's a way to apply the power of commitment and devotion. The Bible goes on and says, trust also to him, and he shall bring it to pass. What? The desire he put in your heart. But only when we commit and trust to God. Only when we live a life of devotion. So I want to encourage you today. How do you live a life of devotion? Number one, live your life through the lens of your commitment to follow God. Make a commitment to follow God. You don't make it to me, you make it to him. If that means 20 minutes a day in the Bible, 5 minutes a day, start somewhere. 5 minutes a day in prayer. Listen, it's okay to start praying like in your car on the way to work, but I'm promising you, you don't want to stay at that place. That's a starting place. That's not an existing place. When we begin to look through life through the lens of our commitment and devotion to God, we begin to eliminate distraction, we eliminate complacency, and we really begin to commit and focus on the other goals that we have. We can begin to commit to becoming a generous person, to become a giving person. We can commit to our spouse. We can commit to doing more for our marriage. We can commit to having a vibrant life that God wants us to have, but we got to do it through the lens of our commitment to God. If you want to make your family better, if you want to make your marriage better, if you want to make the goals that you have set for yourself that you know God has put in your heart, if you got a desire in your heart, you know I'm supposed to start a business. I'm supposed to do this thing. I'm supposed to move to this city or this state. I'm supposed to do this because God's calling me to, but everything in my life is keeping me where I am because I'm too afraid to move forward. I'm telling you right now, put some commitment into your relationship with God. Add on to the devotion that you have to God, and he'll bring that thing to pass. 2, cultivate a life of devotion. What does it mean to cultivate? It means to grow. Cultivate's when you grow something. When you cultivate a life. It's like what you do in a garden. You don't just start out full devotion to God. You don't start out as a monk. You got to start somewhere, though. We need to find a sense of purpose. When we have a devotion to God, we begin to build inside of ourselves a sense of purpose. I've had conversations with men that we would all probably consider wealthy. And I've heard over and over and over again, I would do anything. I would do anything to trade places with you. And I'm always like, I'd like to trade places with you, son. Why? I've made money, they said. I have money. I've made money. I have money. I have no purpose. All I have is money. I know for those of us who may be struggling with money, you might be like, I'd like to have that problem. Yeah, but once you get it, the only problem you solved is money. And if you have no purpose, if you have no devotion, if you have nowhere that you've invested your life, then I'm telling you, cultivating devotion with God is the solution to a life filled with complacency and distraction. And I want to pray for you here today.
We hope you enjoyed this message, and we want to invite you to see us in person. Service starts at 10 a.m. every Sunday at 12253 Lake Nona Gateway Road inside Village Park Elementary School. For more details about times and location, please visit our website at www.eastcoastbelievers.org. If you made a decision for Christ today, we would love to connect with you for some exciting next steps. Please text EC Saved to 94,000 so we can connect with you and help you with your next exciting steps. Thank you for joining us today, and welcome home.